devastating for the cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum, both of which were right at the foot of Mount Vesuvius, which erupted and destroyed the cities completely. Yet despite this, the story of the eruption begins on an ordinary day, in which artisans and slaves performed their normal duties while wealthier citizens conducted business. But before we begin the story, we must learn a little bit about the two cities. The word Pompeii originates from the Italic word pomp, meaning five. The city is believed to have originated from an amalgamation of 5 towns or groups of people. The word Herculaneum, of course, comes from Hercules, who, according to legend, founded the city. Now, the two cities are somewhat different. Pompeii is 4 times as big as Herculaneum, with a population from 12,000 to 5,000, compared to 4,000 to 5,000 in Herculaneum. So, Pompeii was a commercial hub with at least 150 bars and taverns, while Herculaneum was just a seaside city with just over a dozen. We must learn a little bit about Mount Vesuvius as well before we can learn about the eruption. The word Vesuvius itself means unextinguished. It is classified as a complex stratovolcano. Stratovolcanoes, also called composite volcanoes because they're built of layers of alternating lava flow, ash, and blocks of unmelted stone, are larger than cinder cones, rising up 8,000 feet or 2,438 meters. They result from a conduit or pipe-like system of vents leading from a magma reservoir beneath the surface. When dormant, they have steep concave sides that sweep together at the top around a relatively small crater. When they erupt, gases dissolved in magma explode like soda spewing from a soda can. The ash and pumice may also blow out the sides of the cone or the summit crater. Vesuvius and other Italian volcanoes like Campi Flegrei and Stromboli are part of the Campanian volcanic arc, which sits on a tectonic boundary where the African plate is being subducted beneath the Eurasian plate. A tear in the African plate, or slab window under Vesuvius, allows heat from the mantle to melt the plate's rock, building up pressure, causing explosive eruptions. Vesuvius is one of the smallest active volcanoes in the world, and the only active volcano in Europe. Now you may ask, why would the Romans want to settle next to an active volcano? Well, it was mainly for wine. The soil around Vesuvius was very rich and fertile from previous eruptions, and so the Romans could grow grapes used for the wine Lacrymal Christi. Yes, they risked their lives for wine. But of course, you must also realize that the Romans thought Vesuvius was just a mountain. Now we can begin our story. Back in the cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum, it is an ordinary morning. Ordinary tasks are completed, and ordinary business is conducted. People are hardly aware that in a matter of hours their city will be brought to ruins. At midday, Mount Vesuvius erupts after several small explosions. It sends a tall mushroom cloud of superheated rock and gas over 20 kilometers into the air. The cloud blows southward, plunging everything into darkness. The mountain emits noxious gases and unearthly noises. Violent tremors cause buildings to collapse. People flee to the beach, hoping for rescue from the sea, but floating banks of pumice prevent ships from reaching or leaving the shore. Some people wore jewelry featuring good luck symbols, perhaps to invoke the protection of the gods, as the city around them was destroyed. Others took objects of sentimental value, such as a charm bracelet, and others took objects like coins, possibly to safeguard against difficult times ahead. In the evening, ash and pumice stones began to rain down on Pompeii. The ash fell at a rate of about 6 inches or 15 centimeters an hour. People are trapped by black doors while ceilings and roofs collapse under the weight of the debris. Pompeii was showered with small volcanic stones formed by debris clumped together in the cloud of superheated rock and gas. Even though Herculaneum was closer to Pompeii, little to no stones hit, because Pompeii is downwind of Vesuvius while Herculaneum is not. Many Romans once again took items as they fled their homes, now more hastily. For many inhabitants, business was a crucial element for wealth. They could only live in fine homes if they had this wealth. So, some fled with keys to a house or business. Practical objects like lamps and lanterns were also essential to penetrate the darkness. In Herculaneum, and particularly Pompeii, which was overshadowed by the volcanic cloud, darkness must have been near total. The lanterns people carried were actually powered by olive oil, stored in the cylinder container at the bottom of the lantern. They originally had shades made of thin sheets of animal horn. This lantern was actually discovered in Atlantis, which suffered a similar fate to Pompeii. One man in Herculaneum carried medical instruments. He had 6 bronze scalpels, 2 hooks, a pair of forceps and a needle. He may have wanted to safeguard the tools of his trade or possibly help the wounded. As we approach midnight, the eruption reaches its peak and unleashes a hurricane of heavier, denser pumice, causing buildings to collapse. The first deadly pyroclastic surge is then triggered. Pyroclastic surge is when ash and pumice blow out the sides of the cone or the summit crater. The cloud reaches its maximum height of over 30 kilometers and then collapses spectacularly. A massive pyroclastic surge cascades down Vesuvius's northwest slope for its Herculaneum, instantly killing anyone it touches. These surges move at least 700 kilometers per hour, or 450 miles per hour. At this surge in Vesuvius, the temperatures reached 400 degrees Celsius. Like with this soldier, people's bodies were burnt to the bone in seconds. As dawn breaks, the cloud collapses for the last time. Between 6 and 8, huge pyroclastic surges pour onto Pompeii, killing everyone still there and smashing remaining buildings. This pyroclastic surge is 300 degrees Celsius. The cloud then collapses for the last time, and darkness spreads across the Bay of Naples. As a result of the devastating eruption, Herculaneum was covered in 20 meters of volcanic material, while surprisingly, Pompeii was only buried 5 meters deep. As well as people, domestic objects like doors, staircases, and other wooden features were preserved in Herculaneum by the extreme heat of the first pyroclastic surge. Although the eruption on August 24th, 79 AD was the most destructive and devastating, Mount Vesuvius continued to be an active volcano. Subsequent eruptions occurred about every 100 years until the year 1037. Relative calm then gave the mountain a break during the following 600 years, allowing it to reforest. However, all towns which had settled around Mount Vesuvius during that period of calm were destroyed in an eruption on December 6, 1631. 23 eruptions that occurred over the next 300 years. Finally, the most recent eruption of Mount Vesuvius occurred during World War II, when the Allied forces were attacking Italy. It began on March 18, 1944, and lasted 2 weeks.